Everything matters. How we wake up, how we dress, how we eat, how we meet, how we train, how we practice, how we rehab, how we recover, how we treat one another, how we treat everyone.
Second half, that's our style. That's what we represent. Showing that fight, showing your urgency, showing the effort and the technique and the violence that we stand for, guys.
Welcome to Jets Game Day with Robert Saleh. Here's your host, Eric Allen.
Welcome to Jets Game Day. Eric Allen with Bart Scott and Eric Coleman. The Jets will wrap up regular season play today in Miami against the Dolphins. But on Monday night, the football world stopped when Bills safety Damar Hamlin went unconscious, couldn't breathe. You guys have seen a lot in the National Football League, but this was different, Bart.
Yeah, it was different because never before have we saw it become a matter of life and death. We've been accustomed to maybe seeing people get injured, head injuries, face masks coming off, but when you see CPR administered, that's when it became different, right? That's when it became real. And I just want to give a appreciation to the ambulance and the first responders, because I've been talking to people and I didn't realize just how much work they do in the offseason to be prepared for this type of situation, hoping that it would never happen, that they drill this stuff before the season, during the season, even things as minute as trying to figure out what's the path and the way that they get to the hospital. I think they were the shining stars, and all their training kicked in, and because of that, we still have him with us.
Eric, Damar Hamlin is a 24-year-old young man. You played safety in the NFL. This moment brought you to tears when you were watching at home.
Absolutely. It was hard to watch. Like Bart said, you're used to seeing guys go down with the injury, maybe a concussion, a hamstring or something, but to have someone's life stop on the field, it was devastating. And, me being a safety, playing that position, I made that tackle 100 times. And to see that happen, it was just heartbreaking. I feel for, Damar, his family, his teammates, really the whole league. It's really, just praying for him to fight and get a full recovery and get back to life as it should be.
Bart, speaking to that, how close is the NFL community amongst players, alums, coaches, and people within the various organizations?
Man, I think you saw the brotherhood when it happened, right? Both teams coming together, both coaching staffs, the concern, even the crowd, right? Understanding that, listen, we're opponents on the field, but at the end of the day, we're in a unique fraternity, and we love and care about each other. A lot of these guys cross over, they train with each other in the offseason, they support each other, community and charitable ventures, former teammates as well. We all care about each other at the end of the day, because only we understand what we put ourselves through and what the life of an NFL player is all about. And it's a brotherhood that goes far farther than the football field.
Now, time for Inside the Walls, presented by Microsoft Surface.
You're the only team in the National Football League who has not allowed a 300-yard passer this year. The NFL is a passing league. What do you attribute that to?
A great combination of rushing coverage. Our coaches obviously have done a really nice job to really solidify the scheme this year and simplify some of the communication, and then the players have just done a great job executing. Our rush up front has been relentless, and the back end has just been really, really tight. So you combine those two aspects, it's always going to be hard.
We've talked about Sauce Gardner often here. He has 4 PDs. That's a career high against Seattle Seahawks. He leads the National Football League with 20 PDs. How good can he become down the line?
He'll get better when he figures out how to go find the ball. and I think that's going to be his next step. Depending on the PBU that he gets, it's either a missed stop or a good PBU, and some of those have got to turn into those opportunities where he takes it, and I think he's that close. And like I've said before, you can keep trying him. Eventually he's going to start taking it. When he does, they're going to come in bunches.
How about that combination with him and DJ? DJ now has 12 PDs himself. That's 32 for the combination. Is this the best outside corner tandem in the National Football League?
It's as good as anybody for sure. They complement each other really well. You got DJ, just a relentless worker, strains his tail off, studies his tail off. I think a lot of that trickles down to Sauce and what he's learned from DJ, and then Sauce has his own style of game where he brings all that length and size to him, but a really cool combination, and we got these guys for a long time. They're really young, so it's going to be good for a while.
As someone who's a head coach in the National Football League, do you talk about being a spoiler, or is that immediate talk as far as that reference?
I don't know about all that. Spoiler, I think it's no different. You know, you play every game like a championship game, and I know it sounds boring and cliche, but it is. You have to have the mindset that every game is a championship game, every game is a play-in game, every game is a playoff game. Every game is the biggest game of your life because it's that game. And I think when you train that way, you avoid all the highs and lows. And again, young roster is something that we're trying to learn, and felt like we did a good job earlier in the season, and then they really did become championship games. And so yeah, there's the cliche and verbiage, but it's just something that you got to stick to from a philosophical standpoint.
In time, will they be able to learn from what's transpired here, your team?
Absolutely. Anytime you have adversity, especially if you attack that adversity with excitement and great spirit, you're going to find great growth. It's when you're in adversity and you're miserable about your surroundings and you're miserable about where you are, is when you regress as a player, a person, just in general. And I think we've got a group of guys who, through all this adversity, have attacked every single day and have tried to find ways to get better. And while the results haven't shown, there's been a tremendous amount of growth and a lot of learning, a lot of things that we can learn and take with us into 2023.
What kind of message did you give these guys when you got back from Seattle?
Same thing. It's tough. Obviously, this one stings because we know what we had at our fingertips. It's been 5 games now since we've had a chance to celebrate in the locker room, but I'm still proud of the group. We had 3 really, really hard-fought games in a row. Disappointed about the Thursday night game and obviously going to Seattle and just from the overall performance, but when you look globally, just really excited about the direction we're going and the things that we can learn from.
You've ended seasons for so many years. Can you talk about how unique that locker room is going to be after you walk in there Sunday afternoon, because it will never be the same?
Yeah, it's bittersweet. Depends on how you walk into the locker room, whether it's a win or a loss, but whether you win or lose, the appreciation for all the individuals in that locker room who put in so much effort to try to get this organization to where we're all trying to get it to, and so there's an appreciation, a love for the guys in the locker room because of the connection. I mean, we spend so much time with each other, so it's going to be different, and there's going to be a lot of different changes and all that stuff. But in that moment, it's just a great moment to just sit back and have gratitude for one another, have an appreciation for one another, and hug it out one last time before we break.
You have one last chapter in the 2022 season, so there's no period at the end of the sentence. But right now, at this point, looking ahead, how do you want this team to be remembered?
As last year, I felt like that was a team that kind of built a foundation for us to stand on, and I feel like this team has built a framework of what could be. And I think people, despite the end of the season, can kind of look at the framework of the building that we're building, the skyscraper, if you will, that we're building. You can see it, and hopefully it propels us in the next year where we can kind of bring to fruition everything that we're looking forward to.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
After the break, we're back in the studio talking Jets football, and Brian Baldinger will break down tape on the Dolphins. Don't go away. Jets Game Day with Robert Saleh is brought to you by MetLife, the official insurance company of the New York Jets. It's time for Maximum Altitude with Cynthia Freeland, presented by NFL All Day.
Heading into the season finale, the Jets defense has a chance to do something extremely rare in this league, and that's to jump from last in the NFL in total defense to near the top in just one season. Entering Week 18, the Jets ranked 3rd, allowing 311.6 yards per game. Last season, New York allowed a league-worst 397.6 yards per game. Between smart offseason acquisitions and an excellent draft class, this defense now boasts 2 of the league's top 19 corners per PFF, including #1 ranked Sauce Gardner, who leads the league with 20 passes defended in his rookie season, as well as many of Next Gen Stats' top-rated defensive linemen. Both Quinnen Williams and Carl Lawson each have 47 quarterback pressures this season, with Williams ranking 3rd among interior defenders and Lawson checking in at 15th among edge defenders in this metric. Last week, we saw 3 pressures each from Williams and Lawson, who who also had a sack, along with Sauce allowing only 3 yards when covering DK Metcalf. The Jets are one of just 5 teams since 2000 to finish top 10 in total defense the year after finishing last. Of the 22 teams who have finished last in this millennium so far, 12 have finished their next season ranked 20th or worse the following season, and 5 teams repeated in the bottom 5. Should the Jets finish third, where they're ranked now, it would be the biggest single-season jump since the Carolina Panthers went from 31st to 2nd in 2002. Given that the Dolphins allowed 16 pressures last week to the Patriots, we could be in for an exceptional year-over-year increase from this elite defense.
Eric Allen with Bart Scott and Eric Coleman. Bart, it has been a tough go for the Jets quarterbacks of late. We saw Mike White try to tough it out against the Seattle Seahawks. Just didn't look like himself last week.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that he had a lot of rust, and it didn't look like he was, all the way healthy. You saw some of his balls coming up short. And, it's just one of those things where it was just the wrong time for him to go out there. But, he was a soldier. He wanted to go out there and give his all for his team. It just fell short. And, it's a tough environment to play in. And, the Seattle Seahawks, you have to give them a lot of credit for having tremendous game plan and seizing the moment. Already going into play against the 12th man is already a tough environment. They did a great job in game planning and running the ball effectively and punching first and getting on the board first. And it was an uphill battle from there. But you can't fault Mike White for trying to give everything that he had. He just wasn't himself, and they needed 100% Mike White, not whatever percentage he is of himself right now.
It's amazing to think about it that the Dolphins were 8-3. The Jets were 7-4, both entering this game just looking for a victory. Miami's still alive in playoff contention. With that being said, do you guys in the locker room talk about possibly being spoilers against a division rival?
Absolutely. You want to go out there and end the season on a high note. A division rival has an opportunity to make it to the playoffs. Let's go out there and ruin their season, send them home with us in the offseason, and just go out there and perform well. You play against the Miami Dolphins, a team that you don't like, a team that you have to face. You're going to be fighting for the division for years to come. Why not go out and establish your dominance? Defense get an opportunity to go out there and show the top 10 defense that you have been throughout the season. Offensively, get back on track and come out with the W.
Bart, I see a lot of similarities when I look at the Jets and the Dolphins. Both are entering this game on 5-game losing streaks, and they've had instability at the signal caller spot.
Yeah, I mean, and when you think about that, we all know that the quarterback position is the most important position because it affects everybody, because he touches the ball every single play. And it's just, certain things that certain quarterbacks do differently, from being able to get down cadence, be able to get that consistency and continuity going forward. When you think about, understanding how a 5-step drop is different from one quarterback to the next, depending on how tall they are or how fast they get there, it affects the drops of the linemen, right? You talk about guys being able to have that nonverbal communication, understanding how to read body language. That comes with being in experience and being in situations. And I think we lost that, having 3 quarterbacks play, come in and out of the lineup. And it was just one of those unfortunate things that, the NFL is a battle of attrition sometimes. But, the one position that's hard to replace and hard to duplicate is a quarterback position.
Let's jump into the film right now on the Jets and the Dolphins. Here's Brian Baldner.
This is Baldy's Breakdown.
Thanks a lot, EA. I really want to take a look at one of the key matchups in this game in the season finale against the Dolphins.
The Miami Dolphins are led by their 2 wide receivers, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Here are the speedo routes, just 2 guys out, and Tyreek Hill at the bottom, which comes back to the ball. Excellent route runner, excellent fundamentals, coming back to the ball and taking the ball at its highest point. On the other side, you can see Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. They run a lot of 2 receiver routes like this. Tyreek Hill drops back, Jalen Waddle curls over the middle, and right here, Bridgewater last week against New England hit him perfectly for 23 yards. And then the last time the Dolphins were home at Hard Rock Stadium, you're going to see Jalen Waddle at the bottom. Again, 2 receiver out, Tyreek Hill at the top, Waddle at the bottom. And then you got to get these guys down to the ground early, because if you let them get their head of speed up, they'll go the distance. Like right here is the longest play from scrimmage by the Dolphins all year, 84 yards. The 2 receivers, Tyreek and Waddle, 15 touchdowns between the 2 of them so far this season. But last week up in Seattle, DJ Reed played really well. I mean, here's DK Metcalf going on a go route as fast as anybody in this league, excellently defended by DJ Reed. And on the other side, in zone coverage right here, Sauce Gardner. I mean, they're going to try and get this ball to Noah Fant. And right here, Sauce does a great job of defending the deep ball and getting him out of bounds, not letting him come down with it. And then, like right here, even Sauce right here on this little curl route, like, don't let these guys get the ball in their hands because they're dangerous with it in their hands. Defend the pass before they get a chance to get any kind of speed going. You got a big challenge this weekend at Hard Rock Stadium against these Miami receivers.
Fill up your cups. The morning tea is coming up next, followed by final thoughts on today's matchup with Miami.
Week 18, Ethan, I cannot believe it's already here.
That makes two of us.
Last week, the Jets voted on the 2022 Team Awards. Quinnen Williams named Team MVP for the phenomenal season he's been having. He's Pro Bowl bound. He has the team high 12 sacks going into the last game of the season and 2 forced fumbles on the year.
There is a new award, however, the Selfless Warrior Award, voted on by coaches, given to a player who they feel has given the most of himself to the team. For the Jets, that's Dwayne Brown, the left tackle, who hurt his shoulder leading up to the Week 1 game against the Ravens, so he's been playing through a shoulder injury all season, a well-deserved award. But in terms of today's matchup, there's only one certain. The Jets will not be seeing starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa.
Right, but the other 3 quarterbacks on the roster, number 1, Teddy Bridgewater, who has a dislocated pinky from their Patriots game last week. 2, Skylar Thompson, who the Jets saw plenty of in Week 5 when the Jets won against the Dolphins at home. And 3, quarterback Mike Glennon, who the Dolphins signed to their practice squad earlier in the week. So while there's a lot of attention at the Dolphins quarterback position, everyone's going to have their eyes on the Dolphins receivers and the Jets secondary matchup.
Yeah, that's definitely the flashiest matchup when you think about Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, DJ Reed, and Sauce Gardner. But speaking of rookies, how about 2 guys that Robert Saleh gave some kudos to that maybe don't get the same kind of fanfare that Gardner gets? One is Jeremy Ruckert, the tight end. The other one is Jermaine Johnson, the 3rd first-round pick, 26th overall. He said that both of those guys are going to be pretty damn good football players in their career. He's been seeing very good things out of them in practice. So the future is very bright, not only for those 2 players, but for the Jets as a whole, Caroline.
We've said it once, and I'll say it again. The future is bright in New York with this rookie class.
I can't believe I'm about to say this.
I know, for
but
the last time this season.
That's the T.
That's the T.
This segment is brought to you by HCL Tech, supercharging progress.
Good tea from Caroline and Ethan. Bart, how unique is the final game of an NFL season? Because you're going to go in there after the final whistle and you're going to look around in the locker room. It will never be the same again.
I mean, I think it's an important lesson for the rookies and the young, talented guys on this league to understand that it'll be the first time that they're going to see that 35% of that roster usually turns over. You got guys that are free agents, guys that are entering different stages of their career. And it's important for the young guys to pay attention. You think about guys like Dwayne Brown, you think about older guys that have decisions about when you have to make that transition or when you want to make that transition in your life. And it may not be because you can't play, it's because that you've seen the end and you've had enough. This body takes a great toll and we pay a grave price. But then also you have guys that are going to look at this as an opportunity to finally get on the field, and it can be a catapult to what we're going to do next year. Like, hey, this is something that I can end well and start fast, hit the ground running because now I've changed my stripes. Now they know they can trust in me. Now I believe I'm in the future plans for this organization. And then some of the other guys are saying, hey, man, I want to make sure I put on great film so that, my next employer will say, hey, when conditions get tough, this guy plays football. So it's a lot of mixed bags that goes on and mixed emotions. The last team meeting is something that's really impactful because you realize and it becomes reality that some of these guys that you enjoyed your year with, you may never see again.
When he's talking about young players, I'm thinking about the safety position. LaMarcus Joyner out for the year with a hip injury. Tony Adams really performed well against the Seattle Seahawks, and he'll be in the starting lineup today against the Dolphins.
Yeah, this last game is an opportunity for the younger players who haven't had as many reps throughout the season to show what they have. The coaches right now, there's a lot of injuries, a lot of guys who aren't going to be playing in this game. It's going to give these young guys an opportunity. Go out there, play hard, play smart, play fast and physical. Give yourself an opportunity to put yourself in position next season to be on this team.
I've enjoyed it, fellas. Good analysis. The Jets looking to go to 3-3 in the division on the year and double their win total from 2021. It is the Jets and the Dolphins this afternoon. A rivalry is renewed in South Florida.